Surprisingly, behind a strong and stylish man like Ringo Starr lies a life full of heartache that even his fans do not know. From the pain of loss in marriage to unexpected disasters that occurred in childhood, Ringo Starr's heart has been unintentionally crushed for a long time. To better understand what terrible things happened to the legendary drummer of the Beatles, do not miss this video. In all of Ringo Starr's major tragic events, his marriages often take center stage. First, he met Maureen Cox, a young hairdresser from Liverpool, in 1962. Their meeting occurred during an eventful time for Starr, as it coincided with his joining the Beatles, a band that was rapidly on the rise to global stardom. Maureen, affectionately known as Mo to her friends and family, was an enthusiastic Beatles fan herself, often attending their early performances at the Cavern Club. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and by February 1965, just a few years after they met, they were married. The wedding was a significant event, not only for the couple but also for those close to them. The Beatles' manager, Brian Epstein, who played a crucial role in shaping the band's career, served as the best man. This gesture highlighted Epstein's deep involvement in the personal lives of the Beatles, reflecting the close-knit bond he shared with the band members. George Harrison, Starr's fellow Beatle and close friend, stood by him as a witness, along with Starr's stepfather, Harry Graves. The wedding, though a private affair, was a moment of joy amidst the whirlwind of fame that surrounded the Beatles at the time. Their marriage quickly became a topic of interest among Beatles fans and the public. The fascination with their union even led to the creation of a novelty song titled "Treat Him Tender, Maureen" by the Chiclets. The song playfully referenced their relationship, capturing the public's imagination and contributing to the mystique surrounding the lives of the Beatles and their families. Starr and Maureen's family life soon expanded with the birth of their first child, Zach Starkey, on 13th of September 1965. Zach would later follow in his father's footsteps, becoming a drummer himself and performing with notable bands such as The Who and Oasis. Two more children followed: Jason Starkey, born on 19th of August 1967, and Lee Starkey, born on 11th November 1970. The family's early years were marked by the typical challenges of balancing domestic life with the pressures of Starr's demanding career, yet they managed to maintain a semblance of normalcy amid the chaos of Beatlemania. In 1971, as the Beatles had officially disbanded the previous year, Starr made a significant purchase that symbolized a new chapter in his life. He bought Tittenhurst Park, John Lennon's former home, located in Sunninghill, Berkshire. The grand estate became the Starr family's residence, offering them privacy and a peaceful retreat from the public eye. The move to Tittenhurst Park was emblematic of the Beatles' members moving on with their lives after the band's breakup, with Starr carving out his path both personally and professionally. Despite the initial happiness of their marriage, Starr and Maureen's relationship began to unravel, largely due to Starr's infidelities. The pressures of fame and the temptations that came with it took their toll on the marriage. By 1975, after a decade together, the couple decided to divorce. The divorce marked the end of a significant chapter in both of their lives, and it reflected the difficulties that many high-profile marriages face under the glare of public scrutiny. After the divorce, Maureen largely retreated from the public eye, focusing on raising her children. She remained a beloved figure among Beatles fans, many of whom remembered her fondly as a part of the Beatles' extended family. Sadly, Maureen's life was cut short when she passed away from leukemia in 1994 at the age of 48. Her death was a profound loss for her family, friends, and the broader Beatles community, who mourned the passing of a woman who had been a significant part of the Beatles' story during their most influential years. Ringo Starr's life took another significant turn in 1980 when he met actress Barbara Bach on the set of the film Caveman. The film, a prehistoric comedy, may not have been a critical success, but it brought Starr and Bach together, sparking a romance that would lead to one of the most enduring marriages in the entertainment world. Barbara Bach, known for her role as Bond girl Anya Amasova in The Spy Who Loved Me, 1977, was an established actress with a glamorous profile, making their relationship a subject of considerable media attention. Their connection was immediate and profound, leading them to marry the following year. The wedding took place on 27 April 1981 at Marylebone Town Hall in London, a venue with a rich history and a favorite for many celebrity weddings. The ceremony was relatively private, reflecting their desire for a more intimate celebration of their love amidst the constant media scrutiny that surrounded Starr, even years after the Beatles had disbanded. As Starr transitioned into this new chapter of his life, his family continued to grow in ways that brought him great joy. In 1985, Ringo Starr became the first of the Beatles to become a grandfather when his son, Zach, welcomed a daughter, Tatya Jane Starkey. This milestone not only marked a new phase in Starr's life, but also underscored the continuity of his legacy through his children and grandchildren. Zach Starkey, like his father, pursued a career in music, and drumming in particular became a shared passion between them. Zach had an interesting upbringing, often spending time with Keith Moon, the legendary drummer of The Who was a close friend of Ringo Starr. Moon, known for his wild lifestyle, was an influential figure in Zach's life, especially during the times when Starr was absent due to the demands of his career. Zach's exposure to such a dynamic musical environment from a young age undoubtedly shaped his path as a musician. Zach's talents as a drummer were recognized early on, and he went on to perform with some of the most iconic bands in rock history. He has played with The Who, filling the shoes of his mentor, Keith Moon, after his untimely death. Despite his successful career, Zach has also maintained a close relationship with his father, performing with him during several all-star band tours. These tours, which featured a rotating lineup of famous musicians, allowed Starr to continue his musical journey post-Beatles, and having Zach by his side on stage added a personal and familial dimension to these performances. Beyond Zach, Ringo Starr's family continued to grow with the births of his other grandchildren. Starr has a total of 8 grandchildren, 2 from Zach, 3 from Jason Starkey, and 3 from Lee Starkey. Each of his children, in their own way, has carried forward the legacy of the Starr family, though they have largely avoided the intense spotlight that was a hallmark of their father's career. The Starkey grandchildren have largely remained out of the public eye, focusing on their personal lives and careers, but they represent the next generation of a family that has had an indelible impact on music and culture. In 2016, Ringo Starr reached another significant milestone, becoming the first Beatle to become a great-grandfather. This event marked not just the passage of time, but also the enduring nature of the Beatles' legacy through their descendants. Starr, who had once been at the heart of the cultural revolution of the 1960s, had now seen his family expand into 4 generations, each new member a testament to the longevity of the Starr legacy. Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach have led a life of global luxury, splitting their time between multiple homes in some of the world's most desirable locations. Their primary residences over the years have included a country estate in Cranley, Surrey, a glamorous home in Los Angeles, and an opulent apartment in Monte Carlo. These homes reflect not only their immense wealth, but also their desire for privacy and comfort away from the prying eyes of the public. Their estate in Cranley, Surrey, was one of their most significant properties. Situated in the English countryside, this estate, known as Ridinghurst, spanned 200 acres, 81 hectares, and featured a Grade II listed Jacobean house. The property was the epitome of English country living, with its expansive grounds, historic architecture, and a sense of seclusion that provided Starr and Bach with a peaceful retreat. The estate was a symbol of Starr's success, a place where he could enjoy the fruits of his labor, away from the hustle and bustle of city life. However, in 2014, Starr decided to put this estate up for sale, signaling a shift in their lifestyle and possibly a move towards simplifying their property holdings. Despite selling their Surrey estate, Starr and Bach have maintained property in the prestigious London district of Chelsea, off King's Road. Chelsea is one of London's most fashionable and affluent neighborhoods, known for its chic boutiques, high-end restaurants, and cultural attractions. Their home in Chelsea allows them to enjoy the vibrant energy of London while still having a private sanctuary in one of the city's most desirable areas. In addition to their UK properties, Starr and Bach have a residence in Los Angeles, a city that has long been a second home for many British celebrities. Los Angeles offers them a different lifestyle, with its warm climate, entertainment industry connections, and a laid-back, yet luxurious way of life. The couple's home in Los Angeles is a base from which they can enjoy the best of what the West Coast has to offer, from the beaches of Malibu to the cultural offerings of Hollywood. Their Monte Carlo residence adds yet another layer of luxury to their lifestyle. Monte Carlo, located in the tiny Principality of Monaco on the French Riviera, is synonymous with glamour and wealth. Known for its casinos, yacht-filled harbor, and the famous Monaco Grand Prix, Monte Carlo is a playground for the rich and famous. For Starr and Bach, it represents a place where they can enjoy the Mediterranean lifestyle, with its stunning views, fine dining, and relaxed pace. Starr's financial success is reflected in his inclusion on the Sunday Times Rich list in 2011, where he was listed at number 56 with an estimated personal wealth of $150 million. His fortune, amassed through his music career, royalties, and savvy investments, has made him one of the wealthiest figures in the music industry. In fact, in 2012, he was estimated to be the wealthiest drummer in the world, a title that underscores the financial success he has achieved since his early days with the Beatles. The decision to sell their Cranley estate may have been influenced by various factors, including the maintenance demands of such a large property, the desire to spend more time in their other homes, or simply a shift in lifestyle as Starr and Bach have grown older. Regardless of the reasons, the sale of Ridinghurst marked the end of an era for Starr and Bach, as they continued to adjust their living arrangements to better suit their current needs and desires. Today, Starr and Bach continue to divide their time between London and Los Angeles, with the occasional visit to Monte Carlo. Their properties in these locations allow them to enjoy the best of both worlds: the cultural richness and history of London, the sunny, relaxed lifestyle of Los Angeles, and the glamorous, exclusive atmosphere of Monte Carlo. Each home provides a different backdrop for their life together, reflecting their shared love of travel, luxury, and privacy. In December 2015, Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach made headlines by auctioning off a significant collection of personal and professional memorabilia through Julien's Auctions in Los Angeles. This event was not just another celebrity auction, it was a unique opportunity for fans and collectors alike to acquire pieces of rock history, many of which had been cherished by Starr throughout his illustrious career. The auction, which took place over 3 days, was a reflection of Starr and Bach's decision to simplify their lives and focus on their philanthropic efforts, particularly through the Lotus Foundation, the charity they had established together. Among the most notable items in the auction was Starr's first Ludwig Black Oyster Pearl drum kit. This iconic drum set was not just any instrument. It was the very same kit that Starr played during the Beatles' meteoric rise to fame. The Ludwig kit, with its distinctive black oyster pearl finish, became synonymous with Starr and the Beatles, appearing in numerous performances, including their legendary appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. This drum kit was not only a crucial part of rock history, but also a symbol of the sound that defined the Beatles' early music. Its sale was a momentous event for collectors, as it represented a tangible connection to one of the most influential bands in history. In addition to the Ludwig drum kit, The auction featured several instruments that held deep personal significance for Starr. These included guitars and other instruments given to him by his fellow Beatles, George Harrison and John Lennon, as well as by Mark Bolan, the frontman of the glam rock band T-Rex. These gifts were not just tokens of friendship, but also represented the close bonds and mutual respect that existed between these legendary musicians. The inclusion of these items in the auction underscored the personal nature of the collection, offering a glimpse into Starr's relationships with some of the most iconic figures in music history. One of the most highly anticipated items in the auction was a first-pressing copy of the Beatles' White Album, numbered 028A1. This particular copy had long been the subject of speculation and intrigue among Beatles collectors. The White Album, officially titled The Beatles, was originally released in 1968 and became one of the band's most celebrated works. The album's first pressing was sequentially numbered, with 001 being the very first copy produced. For decades, it was rumored that this copy had been owned by a member of the Beatles, and the auction confirmed that it had indeed been in Starr's possession. The sale of this rare and highly coveted item attracted significant attention, and its final price reflected its status as a unique piece of music history. The auction was a resounding success, raising over $9 million in total. While the sale of these items undoubtedly represented a financial windfall, Starr and Bach's motivations were not purely economic. A portion of the proceeds was earmarked for the Lotus Foundation, the charitable organization that they had founded. The Lotus Foundation focuses on a wide range of humanitarian causes, including addiction recovery, cancer research, battered women and children, and animal welfare. By directing part of the auction's proceeds to the foundation, Starr and Bach were able to turn the sale of their cherished items into a force for good, helping to support causes that are close to their hearts. In 2016, Ringo Starr made headlines when he publicly expressed his support for the United Kingdom's decision to withdraw from the European Union, a process commonly known as Brexit. As one of the most famous and influential figures in British cultural history, Starr's stance attracted considerable attention, particularly because it diverged from the views of many in the entertainment industry who opposed Brexit. Starr's position on Brexit was rooted in his belief that while the European Union had been a good idea initially, it had lost its direction over time. He explained, "I thought the European Union was a great idea, but I didn't see it going anywhere lately." This sentiment reflected a broader skepticism among some Britons who felt that the EU had become too bureaucratic and disconnected from the needs and desires of the UK. Starr's comments resonated with many who shared his concerns about the EU's effectiveness and the impact of its regulations on British sovereignty and autonomy. In 2017, as the Brexit process was unfolding, Starr reiterated his support for the UK's withdrawal and expressed impatience with the delays and complications that had arisen during the negotiations. He urged the British government to get on with Brexit, emphasizing his belief that reclaiming control over national affairs was a positive step for the country. "To be in control of your country is a good move," Starr declared, underscoring his belief in the importance of national sovereignty. Starr's pro-Brexit stance was somewhat controversial, particularly given the deep divisions within the UK over the issue. While many praised his straightforward approach and agreed with his views on sovereignty, others criticized him for oversimplifying the complexities of the situation and for not considering the potential economic and social consequences of Brexit. Nonetheless, Starr remained steadfast in his opinions, reflecting his characteristic independence and willingness to speak his mind, even on contentious issues. In October 2021, Starr's name appeared in the Pandora Papers, a massive leak of documents that exposed secret financial deals involving politicians, celebrities, and business leaders around the world. The papers revealed how some of the wealthiest individuals used offshore tax havens to shelter their assets and potentially avoid paying taxes. Starr's inclusion in these documents sparked controversy and raised questions about his financial practices. The Pandora Papers linked Starr to offshore entities that were allegedly used to manage his wealth. While the use of offshore accounts is legal in many cases, it often carries the implication of tax avoidance, a practice that has come under increasing scrutiny. Starr's representatives did not provide detailed comments on the allegations, but the revelations put him in the spotlight for reasons unrelated to his music or public statements on political issues. The incident highlighted the complex financial strategies employed by some of the world's richest individuals and reignited debates over the ethics of tax avoidance. Beyond his political views and financial controversies, Ringo Starr is known for his personal lifestyle choices and philosophies that have shaped his public image. He is a committed vegetarian, a decision he made for health and ethical reasons. However, his dietary choices are also influenced by his allergies. He is known to be allergic to garlic and onions, ingredients that are staples in many vegetarian diets. This was confirmed by Mary McCartney, daughter of Starr's former bandmate Paul McCartney, who is also a well-known advocate for vegetarianism. Meditation is another important aspect of Starr's daily routine. He has long been a practitioner of meditation, a practice he adopted during the Beatles' famous trip to India in 1968, where they studied under Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. For Starr, meditation provides a sense of inner peace and balance, helping him navigate the stresses of life and maintain his well-being. His commitment to this practice is part of his broader philosophy of life, which he encapsulates in his famous catchphrase and motto, "Peace and Love." You may not know that Ringo Starr had a painful childhood, surrounded by illness, and that is the reason why he always focuses on health issues. At the tender age of 6, Richard Starkey, who would later become known to the world as Ringo Starr, faced a significant health crisis that would shape much of his early life. In 1946, Starkey developed a severe case of appendicitis, a condition that required an emergency appendectomy. While the surgery was routine, the aftermath was anything but. Complications arose when he contracted peritonitis, a life-threatening infection of the abdominal lining. The severity of the infection caused Starkey to fall into a coma that lasted for several days, a frightening experience for a young child and his family. When he finally emerged from the coma, the road to recovery was long and arduous. His condition was so grave that he was hospitalized for an entire year, far from the comforting presence of his family. During this time, Starkey was a patient at Liverpool's Myrtle Street Children's Hospital, where he was largely isolated from the outside world. His mother, concerned for his health, decided to keep him at home after his discharge in May 1948, which meant that he missed out on school for an extended period. This decision, while made out of love and concern, had long-term effects on his education and social development. By the time he was 8 years old, Starkey was struggling academically. His prolonged absence from school left him illiterate, with a limited understanding of basic mathematics. This educational deficit made it difficult for him to reintegrate into the school environment, where he often felt alienated from his peers. The sense of isolation he experienced was compounded by his frequent truancy, as he would often skip school to spend time in Sefton Park. The gap between him and his classmates widened, leaving him feeling like an outsider. Recognizing his struggles, a neighbor and surrogate sister, Marie McGuire Crawford, stepped in to help. She began tutoring Starkey twice a week, determined to help him catch up with his peers. Thanks to her dedicated efforts, Starkey made significant progress and nearly closed the educational gap that had developed during his illness. However, just as he was beginning to find his footing, another health crisis struck. In 1953, at the age of 13, Starkey contracted tuberculosis, a serious respiratory disease that was far more common and dangerous in the mid-20th century than it is today. This new illness required him to be admitted to a sanatorium, where he would remain for the next 2 years. The sanatorium, while necessary for his health, once again removed him from the normal experiences of childhood and adolescence. Yet it was during this period of forced isolation that Starkey's life took an unexpected turn. The medical staff at the sanatorium, aware of the monotony and boredom that plagued long-term patients, sought ways to keep the children engaged and to stimulate their motor skills. One of the activities they encouraged was participation in the hospital band. It was here, in the most unlikely of places, that Starkey had his first exposure to percussion instruments. With limited resources, the hospital band made do with makeshift instruments. Starkey was given a mallet made from a cotton bobbin, which he used to strike the cabinets next to his bed. This simple activity ignited a passion in him that would define his future. As Starkey's interest in drumming grew, his family and friends began to recognize his budding talent. During his convalescence, Marie Maguire Crawford, who had been such a pivotal figure in his life, gave him a copy of the Allen Ainsworth song Bedtime for Drums. This gift further fueled his fascination with drumming. Reflecting on this time, Starkey later commented, "I was in the hospital band. That's where I really started playing. I never wanted anything else from there on." His love for drumming became so strong that he rejected other musical instruments offered to him. His grandparents tried to interest him in a mandolin and a banjo, and his grandfather even gave him a harmonica, but none of these could capture his imagination the way drums did. "We had a piano, nothing. Only the drums," he said, illustrating the single-minded determination that would eventually lead him to become one of the most famous drummers in the world. His early education began at St. Silas, a Church of England primary school located near his home in Liverpool. At St. Silas, Starkey's classmates gave him the nickname Lazarus, a reference to the biblical figure who was raised from the dead. This nickname likely stemmed from his remarkable recovery from the life-threatening illnesses he had endured as a child, including a severe bout of appendicitis, followed by peritonitis, which had left him in a coma, and later, tuberculosis, which kept him in a sanatorium for 2 years. Following his time at St. Silas, Starkey went on to attend Dingle Vale Secondary Modern School. Despite the challenges he faced due to his prolonged absences from school, he showed an aptitude for certain subjects, particularly art, drama, and practical subjects like mechanics. These subjects likely provided Starkey with an outlet for his creativity and a sense of accomplishment, even as he struggled to keep up with his peers academically. His natural inclination towards the arts, combined with his interest in practical skills, hinted at the creativity and resourcefulness that would later define his approach to music and drumming. However, the significant amount of time Starkey spent in hospitals meant that he fell behind his classmates academically. His educational setbacks were so severe that he was ineligible to take the 11+ qualifying examination, a crucial test in the British education system that determined whether a student could attend a grammar school. Missing this opportunity meant that Starkey's academic options were limited, and he would not have access to the more rigorous and prestigious educational paths available to those who passed the exam. This situation further contributed to the sense of alienation and frustration that Starkey felt during his school years. Amidst these challenges, a significant change occurred in Starkey's personal life when his mother, Elsie Starkey, married Harry Graves on 17th April 1954. The marriage took place at the Register Office on Mount Pleasant in Liverpool. Harry Graves, originally from London, had relocated to Liverpool following the breakdown of his first marriage. Unlike the strained relationships often depicted in tales of stepfamilies, Starkey and Graves developed a warm and close bond. Graves, who was a passionate fan of big band music and their vocalists, played an instrumental role in shaping Starkey's musical tastes. He introduced the young Starkey to the recordings of renowned artists such as Dinah Shore, Sarah Vaughan, and Billy Daniels. These early influences would leave a lasting impression on Starr, contributing to his deep appreciation for music beyond the rock genre. Starkey's relationship with Graves was marked by mutual respect and affection. Graves, whom Starkey affectionately referred to as Richie, provided a sense of stability and gentleness that Starkey cherished, especially given the tumultuous and health-challenged early years he had experienced. Starkey later reflected on their relationship, stating, "He was great. I learned gentleness from Harry." This statement underscores the significant impact Graves had on Starkey's development, both as a person and as a musician. The kindness and understanding that Graves showed him likely influenced the easygoing and amiable personality that would later endear Starr to millions of fans worldwide. Following his recovery from tuberculosis and his extended stay in the sanatorium, Starkey made a significant decision that would alter the course of his life. He chose not to return to school. Instead of pursuing further formal education, Starkey preferred to stay at home, where he immersed himself in the world of music. He would spend hours listening to records and playing along by rhythmically beating on biscuit tins with sticks. This early experimentation with makeshift percussion instruments marked the beginning of his lifelong passion for drumming. The act of creating rhythm, even with simple tools like biscuit tins, provided Starkey with a sense of purpose and joy that formal education had failed to offer. His early years were marked by hardship, a reality vividly captured by Beatles biographer Bob Spitz, who described Starkey's upbringing as a Dickensian chronicle of misfortune. This characterization is not an exaggeration. The environment in which Starkey was raised was one of poverty, struggle, and resilience, much like the bleak settings depicted in the novels of Charles Dickens. Starkey's family lived in the Dingle, a working-class area of Liverpool that was notorious for its rough living conditions. The houses in this neighborhood were small, cramped, and poorly ventilated. They were typically constructed with thin, crumbling plaster walls that provided little insulation from the elements. The homes were so small that they were often compared to postage stamps, with minimal space for the families who lived there. Each house had a rear door that led to an outhouse, a stark reminder of the lack of modern conveniences that most of us take for granted today. The air in the Dingle was thick with soot, a byproduct of the coal that fueled the city. This pollution added another layer of difficulty to the lives of those who lived there, as respiratory problems and other health issues were common. The children of the Dingle, including Starkey, spent much of their time outdoors, trying to escape the suffocating atmosphere of their coal-fueled neighborhood. Prince's Park, a nearby green space, provided a temporary refuge from the harsh realities of their daily lives. It was a place where they could run, play, and breathe air that was a little cleaner, even if only for a short while. However, the challenges of Starkey's upbringing were not limited to poor living conditions. The Dingle was one of the oldest and poorest inner-city districts in Liverpool, and it was plagued by violent crime. For the families living there, danger was an almost constant presence. Violent altercations were a regular occurrence, and the threat of being caught in the middle of one was a daily concern. In such an environment, survival often depended on one's ability to navigate the dangers that lurked around every corner. Starkey learned early on the importance of staying out of trouble. He later reflected on his experiences growing up in the Dingle, saying, "You kept your head down, your eyes open, and you didn't get in anybody's way." This statement encapsulates the survival mentality that was necessary for children like Starkey to navigate their way through such a perilous environment. It was a world where drawing attention to oneself could lead to danger, and where caution and vigilance were essential for staying safe. The ongoing struggle to survive was a reality for all of the families who lived in the Dingle. Starkey's neighbor, Marie Maguire Crawford, who played a significant role in his life, commented on the collective hardships faced by the community. Like all of the families who lived in the Dingle, he was part of an ongoing struggle to survive, she said. This struggle was not just about financial survival, but about maintaining a sense of dignity and hope in the face of overwhelming adversity. The people of the Dingle were tough, resourceful, and resilient, qualities that were instilled in Starkey from a young age. After returning home from the sanatorium in late 1955, Ringo Starr, then still known as Richard Starkey, faced the daunting task of reintegrating into a world that seemed to have moved on without him. Having spent a significant portion of his childhood in hospitals, first battling appendicitis and peritonitis, and then tuberculosis, Starkey had missed out on critical years of schooling and social development. This left him at a distinct disadvantage, both in terms of education and work experience, as he entered the workforce as a teenager. Starkey's early attempts to secure stable employment were met with little success, largely due to his lack of motivation and discipline, a common issue for someone who had spent so much time in convalescence. His first job was with British Rail, where he was employed as a railway worker. This job was not born out of a desire for a career in the rail industry, but rather out of necessity. Starkey, like many young men of his time, was in need of warm clothing, and the position with British Rail came with an employer-issued suit. However, the suit was incomplete. He was provided with a hat, but no full uniform. Starkey's tenure with British Rail was short-lived, as he was unable to pass the physical examination required for the job. His health, still fragile from years of illness, proved to be an obstacle, and he was laid off. This dismissal left him reliant on unemployment benefits, a humbling experience for the young Starkey. Undeterred, Starkey continued to seek work, though his choices were often guided more by practicality than passion. His next position was as a waiter serving drinks on a dayboat that operated between Liverpool and North Wales. This job offered a new set of challenges, and while it provided some income, it also stirred a deep-seated fear in Starkey, the fear of conscription into military service. The mid-1950s was a time when military service was still a requirement for young men in Britain, and Starkey was acutely aware of this looming obligation. The idea of being conscripted into the Royal Navy terrified him, as he had no interest in a life at sea. Concerned that his job on the dayboat might make him appear too suitable for naval service, he quickly decided to quit, prioritizing his peace of mind over a steady paycheck. By mid-1956, Starkey's prospects seemed uncertain. He was a young man with limited education, few skills, and no clear direction. It was at this point that Harry Graves, his stepfather, stepped in to help. Recognizing Starkey's need for stable employment and a sense of purpose, Graves used his connections to secure him a position as an apprentice machinist at Henry Hunt & Son, a Liverpool-based manufacturer of school equipment. This job was more promising than Starkey's previous ones, offering the potential for steady work and the opportunity to learn a trade. As an apprentice machinist, Starkey was introduced to the world of manufacturing, where he would gain hands-on experience with machinery and tools. It was at Henry Hunt & Son that Starkey met Roy Trafford, a fellow employee who would have a significant influence on his life. The two young men quickly became friends, bonding over a shared interest in music, a passion that had been quietly growing within Starkey during his convalescence. Trafford introduced Starkey to the genre of skiffle, a type of music that was gaining popularity in Britain at the time. Skiffle, with its energetic blend of jazz, blues, and folk influences, resonated deeply with Starkey. The genre was accessible and unpretentious, often performed with homemade or inexpensive instruments, which made it appealing to working-class youths like him. What do you think about the tragedies that Ringo Starr had to go through and his journey toward his dream? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.